So my name is Patrick Lundeen, and I'm currently based in Kelowna, which is Okanagan-Syilx territory, and I'm originally from Lethbridge, Alberta, which is Blackfoot Confederacy territory. So I've been an artist for quite a long time. So I've been an artist for, well, actually this exhibition will be my 20th solo exhibition in 20 years. So, you know, it will, actually I had my first solo exhibition at Art Gallery in Calgary, Alberta in 2003. So it straddles that time period of 20 years. And I've been on quite an artistic journey, I guess, because I started off doing mostly painting. I was very strictly into painting. So I guess I kind of felt like that was a good way to concentrate on being, you know, becoming an artist by finding a material and just working with it very strictly. So I very strictly painted for maybe the first, I don't know, maybe at least 10 years or more of being an artist. And then starting off with, and the other thing I did with it was I was very methodical and very, almost in a silly way, where I did everything with the smallest brush, and I painted the whole thing, where I kind of paid attention to every inch of the whole canvas with this tiny brush, and in that to try to kind of, you know, find myself as an artist. And then over time, and I think that's how I did, because I think, you know, a lot of times you kind of start off doing something mechanical or something, and then you start to, I feel like somewhere in there, just through this working, and maybe it just comes out through the work of your hand, but through that, something of you kind of comes out, and then eventually, you know, you kind of can recognize yourself and what you're sort of about. And then over time, I kind of did, you know, so I started making some little, maybe some paintings that had stuff sticking out of it, and then the stuff came sticking out and then was like on the floor, and then now I'm at the point where where I don't paint that much anymore. But I always say I could go back to it at any time, because I still think of things in a sort of a painting way. But I think I have more excitement with these sculptures and stuff now. So the name of the exhibition is Cheap, and actually that started out with the record. So the record was called Cheap, which I had kind of conceived of that quite a while before, and then I kind of ran with that for the exhibition, cheap. So cheap comes from a few places. There's lots of definitions for cheap. There's, you know, people that are cheap. There's people that are like they're literally not willing to spend their money, or they're keeping their money. There's cheap, like you could make a cheap shot or a cheap jibe towards somebody. You know, that's kind of saying something about somebody that, about something about themselves that they can't really help. You know, that's kind of a mean thing to do, is making a cheap shot. And then also cheap for me, where one of my main influences for it is from Mad Magazine. So in Mad Magazine, it used to always say, give the price of the magazine, let's say, $3.99, and then underneath it would always say cheap with an exclamation point. So that's what I thought was kind of funny. So that's where I got cheap from. So for me, you know, I use found objects, and, you know, I wish I could say it was because I was like really altruistic and like a great environmentalist or something like that. But that's not really the case too much. I just like the quality of things that have a history. When you look at it, you know, things that have kind of like, I try to pick things that, you know, that I like aesthetically, but also things that I don't like aesthetically that look kind of trashy or garbagey. You know, I seek out things like that. So, you know, I'm not afraid to spend money on it either if it looks right. But it has to, you know, as simple as it looks, it's got to be right. You know, I don't like, I can't use things that are too nice, you know, like something that would be at an antique store or something like that. I try to avoid things like that. It's got to be just the right thing. I've always find little things. The other day, that's not going to be in this show, but I found, I was just biking along the rail trail, and somebody had left this mannequin head, like it's about this tall, and it was, it's silver, like really shiny, and it looks like the head of Nefertiti, like that kind of, that Egyptian sculpture. So I kind of can't wait to figure out something to do with that, because it's, you know, and it was just sitting there on the side of the trail, and I just thought, what a gift. The other thing that I'm into, and I have that in this show, is I've kind of got into modular synthesizers and synthesizer modules. So I'm probably going to start doing more and more stuff with that. You know, that's really exciting for me, because they're little modules that you can, you know, you use literal cords to plug into each other, and then you can get them to do different things and interact in a different way. And for me, it's really funny, the idea of being able to build them into things. So music has always been so important to me. So music for me is, you know, even though I probably shouldn't say that, but to me, maybe music is the best art form, maybe. You know, I listen to so much music, and it influences my work so much. I like to be able to, you know, like I could listen to some music, and then I could think, well, how can I make artwork, visual artwork, that feels like that music, or moves in the music with you know, moves like the music in a similar way. And that's great, because that's so much better than like looking at. Well, for me, I'll list somebody like somebody that's really boring for me is not, he's not boring as an artist, but Gerhard Richter. Everybody copying his artwork all the time. So to look at a painting by him and then to turn around and try to emulate that in your artwork is, you know, it's been done so many times and people can see it right away. But like, let's say for me, the best artist of all time is John Coltrane. It's a saxophone player. So I can listen to John Coltrane, and then I can make artwork that's influenced by that, but nobody's going to be able to see that reference. So it can be disguised from me. And yeah, and so I've always made my own music, but my music is terrible, but hopefully in an interesting way. And you know, and then what was my first piece? Well, yeah, I've been putting it into my sculptures and things like that for quite a while, for a number of years now. Oh yeah, the first one I did like that was it was a rug. So it was like a kind of like a rug or blanket, and it had the kind of musical notes on it. And I had stuck, I had kind of painted some eyes on it, and it had a red light bulb for a nose that would blink on and off. And I put a Casio keyboard in there, and it looked like teeth, like the keys, and you would just hit the demo button, and it played the song Together Forever by Rick Astley. And then, but it would, on a continuous loop, going through all the presets on the Casio. So it was like really annoying, but funny. And while this sort of nose would blink on and off red. So that was the first thing I did with music. And that was probably, you know, that's actually going back a number of years, going back to 2005 or 2006 or something like that. Yeah. So in this exhibition, you know, well, I will say that my tendency is to want to just throw sound into everything, but that's a bit too much, and especially it's a bit of a smaller space. So I didn't. So all the sculptures move and kind of do something, but there's only the one that has a sound element. So it's called Stooges. And it's kind of made with a tire, and it's a big pole, and it actually has a built-in modular synthesizer with a speaker on top, and it's got kind of cords running into these parking delineators that I've wired. So when you hit the one on this side, you get one of 200 random Three Stooges samples of them smacking each other or kind of talking, or just those kind of Three Stooges sounds. And then on the other parking delineator, when you hit that, they'll be provided kind of percussion mallets. When you hit that other one, you'll get, it's kind of it's called a sample and hold circuit. So what it is it's kind of a circuit that gives you random noises that are not repeatable. So every time you hit that, you'll get a completely different sound. Even though they sound a little bit similar, but it's you can't get the same sound. So you get kind of broken sounding synthesizer noises on one, and then you hit the other one and you'll get random Three Stooges sounds. Maybe that happened in art school. Like I think I always kind of had a bit of a synth, kind of joked around or had a kind of a jokey side to me, but I kind of got into art school, and then I was really refreshed. Actually, one of my biggest influences, he wasn't my professor at school, but it's an artist that in Calgary. His name's John Will, and he really influenced me. I spent a lot of time with him, and I still speak with him on a weekly basis today. But I saw some of his artwork, and I found that really refreshing. So just the idea that you didn't have to make artwork that was kind of really serious or like theory-based and trying to, another thing I don't like with my own artwork especially is to do things that are trying to tell people how to think or how to behave. I like art that kind of asks questions more, and I think and kind of engages people in a way that that they would find amusing or entertaining, and then maybe have that get people to think more about things. So yeah, everything I do has a sense of humor to it, and sometimes I worry about that. I think, am I a clown? Maybe I'm a clown or something like that. But no, I always just want because I think funny is if you can get somebody to laugh, that's great. All I want visitors to take away from my show is the record. and just kidding, but and also just to have a good time, and hopefully people will see it and get a laugh and enjoy interacting with the objects, and that's all I really hope for. Maybe to just have a good time. That's it.